Wisdom, shield of wisdom. Wisdom, shield of wisdom. Flatline my mind, so I can be reborn again. Pronounce me DOA, so my new vessel will no sin. This world is frozen, global corrosion is eating everyone alive, except for the Most High's chosen people. And ain't no sequel in the end time, the Hebrew Israelites. Hit your rock your enzymes, let me define my mind. It's not that complicated, he that has an enter here, his mental will be elevated. Simply stated, I was intoxicated and inebriated by the old me until I was emancipated. The shield of wisdom helps to purge out the schism within the body, cause human nature taught me to be naughty and haughty. The words of hooker and it's got a big disease, but I got spiritual medication so my soul can be at ease. We got the shield, we got the helmet and the sword. We got to kill that old man so we can kick it with the Lord. Brother, can't you see it? What's the truth have done for me? Taught me nationality. Brother, can't you see it? Brother, can't you see it? What's the truth have done for me? Taught me nationality. Brother, can't you see it? Brother, can't you see it? What's the truth have done for me? Taught me nationality. Brother, can't you see it? Brother, can't you see it? What's the truth have done for me? Taught me nationality. Brother, can't you see it? Judah, Negroes, Benjamin, West Indians, Levi, Haitians, Simeon, Dominicans, Zebulon, Holland to Panama, Ephraim, Puerto Ricans, Manasseh, Cubans, North American Indians, Rubens, Seminole Indians, Naphtali, Argentinians and Chileans, Asher, Colombia, the Uruguayans, Issachar, Mexicans. Wake up, Judah, 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 wake up.
Shalom, brothers and sisters. Welcome to Shield of Wisdom. I'm your host, Priest Thaahwam. I have my special guest today, Priest Allah.
Shalom, priest. I mean, everyone.
Yes, okay. Yeah, so we've been doing a show on the mound builders, you know, the original people here in America, and I told you previously that a lot of information had been searched out through my brother Priest Allah, and I appreciate, you know, your efforts and all that you've done, you know, during these many years of taking a lot of time of your time to find out, you know, this information, brother. Now, I congratulate you for that, and all praise to the Most High, about Shema Mashiach Yahweh, and able to know the Savior, that this information has been gathered together to comfort and, you know, ease our minds of our past. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I want to read this in Exodus 20th chapter, since the topic is on the mound builders. Let's see who the Most High was talking to concerning the mound builders, or the building of the mounds, or we call pyramids today. It says, Exodus 20 and 22, it says, and the Most High, or Elohim, the power, said unto Moses, thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel. So this identifies the children of Israel. Ye have seen that I have talked with you from heaven. So ye shall not make with me gods of silver or powers of silver, neither shall ye make unto you powers of gold. Said an altar, this is what I want you to hear, verse 24, an altar of earth, which is the mound builders, which we had that technology, only the children of Israel, an altar of earth thou shalt make unto me, and shalt sacrifice thereon thy burnt offerings and thy peace offerings, thy sheep and thine oxen. In all places where I record my name, I will come unto thee and I will bless thee. So that was the direction, or the actual application of the Most High, Wahamashiach Yahushai Elohim, they're telling us that we're supposed to build these mounds to sacrifice on these mounds to serve him.
That's right.
You know?
What you have also, we're talking about pre-Columbia, okay?
Right.
The history of the Olmecs. The Olmecs were the tribe of Issachar, the so-called Mexicans. So the indigenous tribe of Mexico, the Olmecs, were Negroes.
Okay.
Now,
that's interesting.
There was 10 tribes of blacks that populated the Americas before anybody came here. Did you know that?
Right. Or different shades of brown.
So they would be considered so-called Negroes today.
Okay. Which
You
were
had
different shades of brown.
Different shades of brown, yeah.
Okay.
You had the Olmecs. Did you know that there was a black nation called California?
A black nation called California?
California. Yeah, the original people of California were Negroes.
Were Negroes.
Black Amazon queens.
Oh, okay.
And California is named after a black queen. Her name is Calafia. And what happened is in California, this is called a history of gold, greed, and genocide. There was a mayor of California, and you know that he was paying, it was 25 cents for the scalp, $5 for a head. It was California state law enforced by William Boggs, the governor. These are the type of things that were going on during the gold rush. The audience gasped and shook their heads as Cunningham went on to talk about how the miners dumped 26 million pounds of mercury into the margin regions of California to extract gold. So do you know that they were paying for the heads of our ancestors? The California government was giving the settlers money to scalp and kill our people.
Now, could they go on the internet to find this information?
Yeah, it's called A History of Cali, Greed, Gold, and Genocide. Okay. So the nation of people that were genocided off was a black California nation. They always told you it was Mexicans.
Right.
They didn't tell you about the black Californians and the Amazon queens under Queen Calafia, did they?
So you're saying that they were here before the people that are called Mexicans today?
Before the Mexicans, California was called California, named after Queen Calafia, and it was nothing but so-called Negroes in California.
And you do have a picture of her?
Yeah, got a picture of Queen Calafia.
And she's a sister, you're saying?
She's a so-called black woman. There she is right here.
Oh, wow, let me see.
That's a picture of Queen Calafia.
Okay, so this is her. If anyone, you can't see it now, but it's here. She's here. She's a beautiful sister.
Yeah. So California was actually taken from the blacks.
Okay.
And it says, so in addition to the Californians, you had the Guanani, the Guel, and the Yamasi. The Yamasi are the black tribes from like Arizona, New Mexico. Yeah, the Calafia, some say they had seen her. And then you had the Caribbean Caracol, the Califanami, the Black Caribs, the Mandinka, and we had the Washitaw. And so these are the 10 black tribes that populated the Americas.
That's interesting.
And they're known as mound builders, the ancient ones.
Right, so the mounds are sort of like what they would consider today as pyramids, right?
Pyramid mounds, yes.
Pyramid mounds,
yeah.
Okay.
And what the pyramid mounds were for, we used to, we had cities. We also used them for sacrificing, and also for burying the dead. So what happened, a lot of Europeans got rich by robbing our pyramid mounds and taking all the gold from all of our ancestors.
Right, I heard a lot of them, they just covered up when the Europeans was coming, they would cover them up to make them look like mountains.
Yeah, but
like a lot of times today, you look at a mountain and you think that it's just a mountain, whereas it's actually a mound.
It's a pyramid mound, yeah.
Right, pyramid mound.
But what happened is the Europeans have basically raided the majority of them, and the government, they've taken billions of dollars of gold out of their burial, from where they were buried.
Oh, okay.
Out of their graves. And this is the history that America has been trying to cover up, because they don't want the black so-called Negro to know that he's indigenous to the Americas. So by claiming African, you're actually voluntarily surrendering the land rights to the land of your ancestors.
Right. Like we met, the Empress Verdiasi of the Washitaw Nation that was over, the Washitaw Nation, and she had went to the government and received hundreds of thousands of land from the Supreme Court.
68,880 acres of land given back to her.
Okay.
and she won a $4 trillion lawsuit against the U.S. government.
But has that been?
She doesn't have the military to collect it.
Oh, right.
But it's in the actual. You can go to the court and find it. And here's an example of what happened to us. Okay, and this is another crazy thing. This land belonged to our ancestors. Before there was anybody here, we were.
Right.
Now they murdered our ancestors and stole the land from our ancestors. Now if we want a piece of land, we got to buy it back from the thieves.
Isn't that interesting?
Think about that.
Wow.
How proud are these thieves to know they stole the land from us, murdered our ancestors, changed our nationality. In 1620, the English colonizers passed something called the Negro Act. Anybody can look it up on the internet.
It's called what?
The Negro Act.
The Negro Act.
And instead of calling the Indians that Columbus, the black people he called Indians, they started calling them Negroes. And as they took the land, they enslaved the inhabitants of the land. So the tens and millions of Indians that they say were murdered in the Holocaust were not murdered at all. There wasn't enough, there would have been so many bodies stacked up, there wasn't enough people to bury the bodies. What they did is they just changed their nationality and made them slaves.
Right. So they were the indigenous people of the land.
Of the land.
They came to Americans and they took the indigenous people of the land, blacks, and made them slaves.
Made them slaves.
The majority of people that's here in America thinking that they're so-called African Americans, they're actually, their ancestors could be actually the indigenous people
The
of the mound builders of America.
Yeah.
So these are the things that are withheld from our people, right?
Let me read this.
See this.
I'm going to read this to you, okay? It says, at least 3,000 Americans, so-called Indians, are known to have been shipped to Europe between 1493 and 1501, the Columbus expeditions, with the likely total being possibly double that. Most were sent to the Seville area, where they seem to show up in the slave market as Negroes. These are major contradictions to the whole slave trade myth. Blacks were always an American. The missing Indians are Negroes. The slaves sold on the slave markets in the South were initially the black people from right here in this hemisphere. As they took the lands here, they enslaved the inhabitants of those lands who were blacks. The tens of millions of American so-called Indians who disappeared after 1492 did not all die in the Holocaust inflicted within America. Many thousands were sent to Europe and Africa as slaves. The whole slave trade myth is that the whole story was given to us in reverse. Mass colonies of Africans were not shipped from Africa to America, but the truth is that black Indians were shipped from America to Europe. They were then shipped from Spain to Africa as commodity for African resources. These black Indians, now mistaken as Africans, were shipped back to America and classified as African slaves. And when you see that cartoon Pocahontas, right?
Right.
They show you how they come here and they steal the people and take them back to Europe.
You know, that's history though, you know, but they just show a different people that was taken from America to Europe.
To Europe, yeah.
They don't really show that it was the so-called Negro.
Yeah, but when you look at the archaeology, when you look at all of the paintings, all of the ancient carvings, when they dig up the bones, all the archaeology points that the history of the pre-Columbia America is pre-Columbian Negroes.
So, well, if that's the case, then where do the people that claim to be Indian and so forth today, that they on the reservations and so forth, where do they come from?
That's a good question. I'm going to read to you. In the 4th century, a Chinese missionary under the Shang dynasty named Hu Xin came to America in search of his people who were the Ish Yi, black Chinese. When the Chinese arrived, they encountered the Olmecs. Here's a book called The History of African Olmecs, Black Civilizations of America from Prehistoric Times to the Present.
Who's it by?
It's by Paul Alfred Barton.
Paul Alfred Barton.
Yeah, this is the book right here. Anybody can get this book. It's at any bookstore. Now, it says the Chinese consider the black Olmecs as descendants of the black Chinese, because at this point the Chinese were black.
Okay.
Okay? Now, Hu Xin's people settled and mixed with the Olmecs and produced the Aboriginal. The Olmecs gave the lower kingdom to these Aborigines. The Aborigines called the land Muixian, which is a combination of the Olmecan Ashuric Aramaic word Aramaic word mu, which means one, and the Chinese word Ixian, which means Hushin. Did you know there's a province in China today called Ixian, and that is the site of the only Chinese pyramids? Mu-Ixian became Mixian, and Mexian or Mexico. The Aborigines call themselves Mexicans. They remixed with the Olmecs, which resulted in a subtribe called the Hopi. So what happened is, these black Olmecs and these black tribes here started to mix with the Chinese.
Okay, so you're saying the Chinese came here.
Yeah.
And they mixed with the blacks that was already
here, yeah.
Okay.
And that's how you start getting different looks of Indians. What happened next? When the Europeaners came, the Caucasian people,
Yes.
because not all Europeaners are Caucasian.
Right.
When the Caucasian people came, they started murdering and enslaving the men and raping the women and marrying the women and having babies with the women.
Okay.
And those children